chains fall, fear bow here now. Jesus, you change everything. Lives healed, home found here now. Jesus, you change everything. Chains fall, fear bow here now. Jesus, you change everything. Chains fall, fear bow here now. Jesus, you change everything. Jesus, you change everything.
So my absolute favorite show of all time is The Office. And so in honor of that, I wore my Office shirt, regional manager. To get that joke, you have to actually see the show. But I love The Office, but what I found is a lot of people don't really understand the humor in The Office because they don't watch from the beginning. They jump in somewhere in like the middle of the story and try and pick up the show from there. They watch an episode in the middle and they don't understand who the characters are. They don't know the backstory between Jim and Pam and why Jim and Dwight don't get along together and why everybody is just driven crazy by Michael. They just don't understand it. You see, understanding the backstory to something is really, really important to getting the full context of a whole story. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You see, here's what happens. We'll see someone in a certain time of their life and we'll make some assumptions about them and we'll think that we know the whole story about their life and what's been going on. When in reality, what we need to do is learn a lot about what happened to them prior. And so today we're going to look at somebody's backstory so we can get a better idea of their interaction with Jesus. In the Gospel of Luke, we learn about a guy named Zacchaeus. Now let me tell you about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was Jewish. And at the time, the Jewish people were being ruled by Rome. And Rome was not exactly a nice place to be ruled by. They taxed the people heavily, they took a lot of their money, they restricted them. And Zacchaeus, although he was Jewish, he decided to start working for the Romans as a tax collector. And that pretty much made him absolutely ostracized from the rest of the community. He wouldn't have been allowed to go to church. He wouldn't have been allowed to go and hang out with his family. People would have not talked to him in public. Zacchaeus would have had a really hard time actually fitting in to his community because he was a Jewish person that was now working for Rome, and the Jewish people hated the Romans. Now, one day Jesus is in town, and as he's in town, he kind of gets a crowd around him. And as we've talked about, Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, and he wanted to get close to him so he could see him and maybe hear him teach or see what he was doing. So Zacchaeus And maybe you've heard that funny little song, he was a wee little man. Maybe he wasn't really, really tall. Zacchaeus climbs into a tree so he can get a better view of Jesus and see what he's doing. And then at this moment, something absolutely amazing happens. Jesus looks up and he says this. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. Luke 19, verses 5 through 6. Now, this is absolutely huge because in this moment, when Jesus started talking to Zacchaeus, everybody else in the crowd would have had like a question mark, like, are you serious? Is Jesus actually talking to this tax collector, this guy who works for the Romans? Is he really talking to Zacchaeus? That is absolutely crazy. People would have wondered, why on earth is Jesus actually even acknowledging this guy? But this is what's absolutely amazing, is Jesus knew Zacchaeus' story. He knew the things that Zacchaeus had been going through in his life. He knew the fact that Zacchaeus had been rejected by people and left out of the community. And he knew Zacchaeus' story, and he still knew his name, and he cared about him and wanted to spend time with him. In fact, Jesus, to me, it's amazing because we learn in this story that Zacchaeus, when Jesus talked to him, Zacchaeus got excited and was happy. And I think that's because Jesus was one of the first people in a really, really long time that had actually talked to Zacchaeus and cared about him enough to actually say his name and tell him that he wanted to spend time with him. That is absolutely crazy. So, how do we apply this? How does this actually make sense with our series, It's Personal, and how do we take away something from Zacchaeus' story? Well, here's the thing. We make judgments on people. We pass judgment and we make assumptions about people's lives and the way they're acting in a certain moment without really trying to understand the whole backstory. It's kind of like jumping into the middle of a season of The Office without understanding who all the characters are and the personalities and the show that's going on. But Jesus, he knows our story and he knows what we've been through, and we should try and do that for other people. We should make our faith personal for other people by trying to get to know them, by learning their story, by learning what they've been through, and that will help us connect them to Jesus and help them have faith in who he is. So, our bottom line for today is this. It's personal because Jesus understands your story. It's personal because Jesus understands your story. He understands your story. He understands your friend's story. He understands the things that have been going on in your life that stress you out, that bother you, that hurt, that aren't your fault. He understands all those things, and he still calls you by name, and he still wants a relationship with you, and he loves you so much, enough to die on the cross to save you from your sins. So our faith is personal because Jesus understands our story. So as we dismiss and go to small groups, remember that. Remember that Jesus understands your story, and he still loves you. He calls you by name, and he wants a relationship with you.